So there was a forest fire, and all the animals had gone to the edge of the forest. They didn't know what to do. And there was this little hummingbird that flew to a body of water and took in, little bits of water in its beak and went to the fire and dropped the water and went back to the water, to the fire. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, drops at a time. And the animals finally what are you doing? And the hummingbird said, I'm doing what I can. Doing what I can, which is all that we are ever required to do, is what we can do based on what gifts we have, what talents we have, what time we have. That's what we're called, to do what we can. Serve. Last night we had dinner at our house, Kevin and I, and this was one of the couples that won the bid. There were two couples. We were doing 2 dinners from our fundraiser, and this was one of the groups we had dinner for. And Kevin and I love to entertain and serve. And here's a picture from all 10 of us. It was so much fun. I just personally love serving and cooking for people and serving them food and wine and good times. And one of the people that was there, won't say who, said, I have a Halloween joke for you. I said, oh, please share, because I don't have a joke this week. And they said, what do you call a werewolf? Oh. I messed it up. What do you call a wolf who meditates? A werewolf. That was from Mike King. I said I wasn't going to give you credit, but yeah. Anyway, so today is talking about service, because it's our final week in our 7-week program using Essential Spirituality by Roger Walsh. And service is the main thing that we do. Like all the other practices lead up to being of service, of taking care of each other, of cultivating generosity within ourselves so that we can give from this place of love, from this place of overflow, from this place that we know we have enough. And we don't always feel like we have enough all the time, but the truth is we have enough. We have more than enough. And so this service, these practices that are in this section of the book are to bring everything else together, to bring all the other practices. Oh, some people in costume just walked in. It's not part of the act. But cultivating it's going to be one of those services, I think. Cultivating generosity is one of the most important characteristic we can cultivate. It's the one that can bring us the most joy, say the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu in the Book of Joy, that generosity is the most important of all those pillars of joy, that we feel joy when we give. Aristotle, born in 384 BC, said the essence of life is to serve others and do good. That's the very essence of life. Yet only 1 in 4 adults, or 23% in America, volunteer. The lowest rate in a decade. It's been dropping. About 7 percentage points below 2019. Only 1 billion of 8 billion people in the world volunteer. 100% of nonprofits rely on people volunteering, like we do here at Columbine. We couldn't do what we do without all of you who serve, all of you who help us and do things here and take on tasks and take on projects and run things, and it's amazing, and we're so grateful for that. The top state Has the most volunteers with 51% of the state is Utah. Then Minnesota at 45%, then Oregon, Alaska, and Iowa. I don't know where Colorado ranks, but Florida's the lowest. But I do know that we couldn't do what we do without all of you. Without all of you, that even your presence here in this room is a service to us, helps enhance what we do here. And we certainly know, any of you that have served, the joy or the helper's high of serving, how good it feels to give, how good it feels to use our gifts and our talents in service for others. And that's the result of giving back. So here today we have a service assistant who's going to talk about her experience of giving, Piri Jensen.
Well, some people say I'm up to no good, but really, I love to do good. There was actually a quote today in Good News Network that was, "You find your souls through service." And I feel that what I've found here at Columbine, okay. Should I start all over again? Okay, all right. But here at Columbine, I feel that not only have I found a community, but I have found a family. And that's how I feel when I do things here. It doesn't feel like service. It feels like I'm now a part of a family. And I had a really giving mother, and we had 5 kids, and she'd always make these great festive dinners, and then there'd always be a big fight, and it was always really sad. It was really sad, actually. And so when I come here and I help with the party or help in the kitchen, cleaning up or setting out, I feel like I have a family and a group of people that are soulful and that everyone wishes everyone well. And I think they did too, but they just didn't know how to do it. So here we are. And some of our service is much more evident than others. And I just had a compulsion to draw some attention to the people we can't see behind us. All right? So there's a team of people that every single Sunday, whether we come or not, they come and they do all the audio-visual, which would completely stymie me. I don't know about you. And in addition to the service, you might say, well, what's that? That's an hour. Well, in addition to that, there's things like computer backup when there's an upgrade in the software and things crash. And I understand someone was here at like 7 in the morning with their cell phone flashlight fixing things yesterday. So I just want to say how grateful I am and how much I was compelled by other people's service to join, because I want to be a part. I want to be a part of the community. And one of the other things I wanted to mention was my admiration and gratefulness for Pat Foss. And I don't think she's in the room because she's always serving us. And because we have a smaller group today, I'm kind of sad because the people that are here are probably the people that already know that that hall is donated, or not donated, but dedicated to she and her husband's service. And the service is when I go and I work with her, I feel like I'm with the older sister I didn't have, who had humor and dedication. I mean, I love my sister, but she gets angry a lot. And Pat, no, I just really enjoy working with her. So it feels really good. And I wanted to draw attention to the fact that she's often in the kitchen alone or with one person. And we would not have fellowship without Pat. So today, if you haven't had the opportunity to serve or don't think you have time, I'd love if there were 10 people that said, okay, I'm going to do a half an hour a month. Or 2 Sundays a month, I'm either going to greet or I'm going to help Pat. And part of helping Pat is the bookstore. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but she's doing the kitchen, and she's doing the bookstore, and everyone's running to Pat to ask her what they should do about the recycling. And it would be really nice if Pat, who is really my older sister, didn't have to work harder than a lot of people. So anyway, I want to thank you all for making me feel so welcome and giving me the pleasure of giving and doing, because that's what I love to do.
Thank you, Perry. And yes, thank you to Pat and the sound team, the people that are up there behind the scenes, and everybody that does something here, because it takes all of us. All great religions talk about the satisfaction that we get in our lives when we serve. And not when we serve out of an obligation, but we serve because we want to. We seem to want to help others, but it doesn't always come easy to us. Think about the Good Samaritan. Most of you know that story of the Good Samaritan in the Gospel according to Luke, where a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he was mugged and attacked and beaten and robbed. And a rabbi or priest goes by first and just goes right by him and doesn't stop. And then a Levite goes by and doesn't stop. And then a Samaritan who they were not friendly with each other, and helped him and dressed his wounds and cleaned him up and took him to an inn and paid for it, took care of him. The story came because somebody asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" Everyone is our neighbor. Everyone is our neighbor. Anyone in need can be our neighbor, but how many times do we look the other way? It starts in consciousness. How many times do we have a thought that we could do something, but let's go around it. Let's skirt around that issue. Let's skirt around that need and not do anything. It's easy enough to do, but we're being invited to realize how much we need each other, realize our interdependence upon each other. And the Good Samaritan story is about stop passing by and stop and do what you can. Stop seeing others as a burden. Take the mask of indifference off. Take the mask of lack and limitation off. Sometimes when we feel that we ought to give, we're really coming from a place of lack, where we feel like what we give is really a depletion of what we have, instead of how much it adds to the fulfillment of our lives, how much it adds to our awareness of our own wholeness, how much it adds to an awareness of how much abundance we do have. And so we want to take off that mask of lack and limitation and give what we can, do what we can. Jack Kornfield is quoted in Essential Spirituality. He says, "Whether it is generosity with our time, our possessions, our money, or our love, the principles are the same. True generosity grows as the heart opens, grows along with the integrity and health of our inner life. Great generosity springs naturally out of a sense of health and wholeness of our being. It grows when we do what we can, little bit by little bit. It doesn't matter. But it grows. Our awareness grows, and it doesn't always come easy. We have to first get that enthusiasm going in mind, and that's where our power of zeal comes in. Zeal is our ability to get energized, get enthused, get passionate about something, and we have to do that in our minds before we can ever do it out in the world. And that's what our 12 powers are all about. The unity teaching of the 12 powers is beautiful, and so many people mistake the 12 powers thinking that it gives them power out in the world. That's not how they work. They work in consciousness. They work with our thoughts. They work with how we choose to show up in the world because of our level of thinking or our beliefs or emotions. That's how the 12 powers work. And so zeal is our ability to get enthused. We're not going to give in service, be helpful, if we don't have some kind of energy behind it. We need that energy, and that power of zeal is always working, but we can close ourselves off to it. We can be like the Levite that went past the person who was wounded and suffering. It's up to us. We always have a choice, but it always happens in mind before the physical world. Things happen twice. Everything is created twice. So Roger Walsh talks about how we can grow in our level of generosity, that first we start out as in a tentative state of generosity. Like, I was like this when I first started tithing. Okay. You're kind of like holding on, but you don't really want to give. And that's okay. If that's where you're at, that is okay. That's where I was when I started tithing years ago. And then we can grow into a place of brotherly, sisterly giving, where we genuinely want to help others and share our blessings. Think of trick or treat. We want to give to the kids. We want to see that smile on their face. We get nothing in return from that other than the joy of giving, other than the joy of seeing kids smiling and laughing and having a good time. And then we can grow to a place of royal giving, where he says it's effortless, that other people's happiness is just as important as our own, where it just becomes a way of life because we want to give. It's a privilege to give. So wherever you are, start there. It doesn't matter. Be like the hummingbird. Do what you can, a drop at a time. It's all right. There's no shame or blame. And don't think that the more you give, the more worthy you are, or the more valuable you are, because you are already as worthy and valuable and loved as you ever will be. It's innate in us. We don't have to do anything to earn the love of God, the love of Spirit. It's all there. And so we give from a knowing of that, out of our overflow. This morning I was shocked to hear that Matthew Perry died. But you hear that? And so I was reading a couple articles about him, and he had a lot of issues with drug addiction and alcohol. And as he got sober, one of the articles I read said he really loved, more than the fame and the money and all that came with him becoming an actor, on Friends especially, and becoming famous, was helping people, especially those that wanted to get sober. That gave him more joy than anything else, was helping people. That's what we're talking about here. That's the biggest joy we can experience, is when we give with no strings attached. We just give because our heart wants to give. It can feel good. In 1980, there was a woman named Linda Bremner whose son was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Her son was in the hospital on and off, and after getting out one time, after coming out of the hospital, he would get lots of cards in the mail from different people, and it brought a smile to his face. And then slowly, the longer he was out of the hospital, the less mail he would get. And so Linda, his mom, decided she was going to anonymously write him a love letter. And so she started mailing him letters and said, "From your secret pal." And she saw it would just bring a smile to his face. He would feel good. Somebody knows I'm alive. Somebody knows I exist. And so she did it every day until one day she saw him drawing a picture of unicorns, and then he put it under his pillow, and she pulled it out when he was asleep, and it said, "P.S. Mom, I love you too." He knew that it was her writing those all along, but it didn't matter because he felt loved. In 1984, he passed away. And Linda, in her grief, she had 2 other kids, but she was just beside herself in grief for losing little 12-year-old Andy. And so she was going through his things one day and found a box of letters that he had received in the mail. And she also found an address book of all the other kids that had been in the hospital when he was in the hospital. And she decided to start writing each of them a letter. Before she got through the whole list, she already got a reply from one of the little boys who said, who thanked her and said, "I didn't think anybody knew I was still alive." And that started a 10-year practice of writing love letters every day to children who were in hospitals, just to let them know that somebody was thinking about them. It didn't matter that they didn't know the person writing the letter. She ended up getting friends and family and neighbors to help her. And they were writing about 60,000 letters a year, about 1,100 a week, and just bringing a smile to children's faces, for them to know that they were cared about. This was her sacred service. This was her give back. This was her helping make the world a better place. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2006, and the company stopped doing this. It was called Love Letters, Inc. But she said that she experienced firsthand the power of lover letter writing in healing the soul, and how it healed her soul to give in this way, to be of service in this way. In my life, I'm grateful for my parents who instilled in me a service mentality. My parents had 6 kids, not unlike your family, Piri, and they were always giving. They were always helping. They were always helping people and giving to people and making meals for people and volunteering at the church and volunteering at the school. And it instilled in me this need to give, this joy of giving. And I'm so grateful for them. This week, I worked with one of the practices in the book, which is dedicate. It doesn't matter what you do for service. You could take anything that you do on a regular basis and change the intention of what you're doing. And one of the practices in the book is to dedicate that activity, that mundane maybe thing that you do every day, and dedicate it to a higher purpose. Do a dedication just before you do it. I did this before I went running this week, and it was a great run. I dedicated it to all the ideas that would flow through me. I dedicated it to the people that would hear any message that I have from the ideas that came. I dedicated it to the wellness of my body, the wellness of my mental health. It was really a great run. Why don't I do this more often? Dedicate something. That's just one of the practices. There's 7 in this section that you can practice serving. You can practice helping. And this really is being the hands and feet of Spirit. As we give, we are the hands and feet of Spirit. And this is Unity's 5th principle that says we can learn all we want. We can get all the beliefs in line with truth principles. But if we're not acting them out, if we're not expressing them, what good is it? We are in the world. We don't have to be of the world, but we can be in the world giving. What we can. with what we have. In 1981, a pediatrician saved the life of a 3.2-pound premature baby boy by working around the clock and being dedicated and he wouldn't give up. He wouldn't give up. He needed to stabilize him. In 2011, that same physician was pinned inside a burning car, and the EMS person, the paramedic who turned up to help him out of the car and save him life was that baby boy. We don't know when we give how it affects people or how it may come back to us. So we're invited to be in that place of giving, give without ceasing, pray without ceasing. In Matthew 25:40 says, everything you do to the least of my brothers, you do for me. We do for spirit. We do for that oneness consciousness that we teach in unity. So what can you do to give? Many of you that are here this morning already are in that place of giving. What can you do if you're not? What could you do in addition to? What could you do? How could you give? How could you serve? We're all one, and we're all here to help each other. I just want to close with an ancient Hindu saying that is in this section of the book. It says, when I forget who I am, I serve you. Through serving you, I remember who I am and know that I am you. Namaste. Peace be with you.